Good evening, Danvers. My name is Mark Zubarek, and welcome to the Topics of the Town News. And this is Danvers Topics only. I'm trying to keep it local. Today, I have two special guests with me, Bill Bradstreet and Tony Betancourt. And welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here because we need input from the rest of the town. Welcome to our local broadcast. Headlines are dedicated for the taxpayers of Danvers. And I've selected a few headlines. Essex Tech and our small town government actions. The second one is, we think that we are a city. I know that. Town ballots and elections, we'll talk about that. Beverly Airport, is it a blessing or a disaster?
It's a disaster, if you ask me.
Beverly Airport neighborhood disaster, how to fix it. So we'll talk about all of those subjects, but I wanted to get those out in front so we can anticipate some of this discussion. The agenda and opinions are solely by the Topics of the Town host, guests, and commentators. Now, here's my quote for the day, and I'm sticking with it. The spread of socialism/communism starts when people are silenced. Free speech is the first freedom citizens lose. Censorship is our enemy. So this program, this is free speech, as long as we don't go overboard, and we wanted to make sure that we don't. The best way we know to combat this is to continue to report and discuss the truth. So what I have today is I have segment one. I have the segment one. Let's go to segment one. We have clips from an interview that I conducted with Heidi Riccio, the superintendent of Essex Tech. And I wanted to go and sit down with her and sort of discuss some of the issues. So this will give us an opportunity to listen.
Okay.
So, Jack, if you could run that, please.
The next question is that there's been very much discussion recently in Danvers in regards to SEL, DEI, and I noticed in your presentation that there's a term CTAE, SEL, DEI, and then academics and so on. Could you explain CTAE, and then what is the process of providing SEL and DEI components of the curriculum?
Sure. So CTAE refers to Career Technical Agricultural Education. And so basically it is the form of education that we do every day here, and where students travel 1 week in academic programs, which is your math, English, social studies, science, and then the other half of the week is, or the other week is dedicated to their career technical and agricultural programming, where they learn workforce skills. The SEL and the DEI is something that we have been working on, much like every other school district across probably the country, but in the Commonwealth as well, because it's really about thinking who you have in front of you. So the idea of SEL and DEI is to have systems in place that support all students. But in addition to that, from the curriculum perspective, it's really about having teachers look at the students in front of them and making sure that students, all students, have what they need to be successful.
Okay. But this is all dictated by DESE, and that is the curriculum that you follow by the guidelines.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say dictated.
It
I
is
know we're going to change
dictated.
the words, but I will say it's good practice because, you know, when I was in school, if I sat in the back of the room and kept quiet, they just kind of passed me along. They never asked me a question. I just went through my day and went through my life. In 2023, you can't do that. You need to make sure that that student is okay. And what is it that they need in order to learn the skills that they need? So the state has come up with some guidance and guidelines, even in our evaluation tools for teachers and administrators. They want to know, they want us to provide evidence in how we're supporting students. And so SEL isn't just in the classroom, it's in the hallways, it's in the cafeteria, it's making sure students aren't bullied.
Well, I understand all that. However, there has been uproar in the town of Danvers that SEL is a method to indoctrinate our students in LGBTQ, gender recognition, and those are the things that are bothering the residents in the town, the parents especially,
Sure.
because the community doesn't know what's going on in the school system.
Well, again, I don't know necessarily Danvers public schools, but I can speak for our school system, is that all schools probably have an LGBTQ plus community, which I think is important to support students of, you know, differences, whether it's of people of color, people.
Oops. Well, that was a clip that was scheduled to be as a second clip, but we got into this discussion because the Danvers school system is going through some questioning of what are they teaching our students. And if you notice my comment in regards to what is being taught in the classroom in Essex Tech, it's pretty similar, except that we don't know all the details because I don't think anybody has questioned that. In Danvers school system, it has been questioned and it has been brought up to the school committee, and basically the school committee washed off their hands saying, we don't have anything to do with curriculum. Then why are you elected? So this is an issue that's creeping up more and more in our community, and the problem is that our community doesn't know what's being taught in the classroom. Now, all this information is being shared with the parents of the current students, but we all have had students in the school system. I know I had 2 daughters in the school system. And boy, did I hear about what's going on at that time, but I was dumb enough not to do something about it. And this thing is getting larger and larger. So, Jack, if we can run the second clip, and I think there's 3.
How has
Go ahead.
the admissions policy changed, and who dictates this?
So the school,
Because that's been an issue
sure.
all along.
We have a subcommittee, an admissions subcommittee that reviews data over time. We then also, through that subcommittee, they make recommendations for policy changes. And then with that policy change or recommendation, it goes to a policy subcommittee. It gets vetted through that policy subcommittee. And then once it's finalized, it goes to the whole school committee for final approval. And then we submit it to the state. And so we work with, again, a subcommittee of our admission. So this year we did change it a little bit. We reduced the academic rigor, so students can get kind of full points.
Don't tell me you're dumbing down the system.
We are not. We're making it, and we're really, the academics played a very small role actually in if a student kind of gained acceptance. It was mostly because of their interview and if they knew why they wanted to come here. And so the majority of the points were actually on the interview process. And quite frankly, we have over 1,600 applications for 450 spots. So regardless, someone is going to be left out. And so that's why we want to work with our communities to be able to offer some skills-based training in their home districts, because kids and parents are looking for something different, and we want to be able to provide that for them. So our out-of-district students, we are actually going to a lottery system for them, because what we have seen in our out-of-district students is that the top 10% of the kids don't end up coming to us. They end up going maybe to a private school. So we're trying to level out the playing field with a lottery. It won't work for our whole community because the majority of our applicants come from Peabody, Salem, Beverly, Gloucester, and Danvers. And so if we were to do a lottery, there are some communities that have much lower enrollment that they would kind of get left out.
The final question is basically what I like to do is just read your mission of Essex.
Sure.
North Shore Agricultural and Technical School is to create a culture of academic and technical excellence, encourage continuous intellectual growth, and promote professionalism, determination, and citizenship for all students as they develop into architects, artisans, and authors of the 21st century, or 21st century community. The key to this mission statement to me is to create a culture of academic and technical excellence. The rest of it is fluff.
Yes.
That's where the focus of our school systems should be. And the thing is, I've been reading other school systems' mission statements, and academics is not the first item on the list. So I congratulate you on that. But my final question
Yes.
is, do you have, no, I'm going to forget about the fees. You are imposing fees on sports and everything else. When will we meet the media class and co-produce a program with Essex Tech? I need to, I've been preaching this thing for years now, and I haven't been able to accomplish it, but I'd like to get a cooperative presentation of what do we, I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid for any of this. This is costing me money.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's important for our community to understand what's going on, because our school systems only communicate with the parents of the existing students. The rest of the community is left out. They don't know what's going on. And that's where Danvers has 27,000 residents, 3,000 students, and all the information for the school system is being fed to the 3,000 parents, and the 24,000 people are left out in the cold. They don't understand what goes on.
Sure.
So, when are we going to get together?
Soon. I already sent a message to our media teacher, John Mejia, who has a strong background in TV production, and we had just started that program a couple of years ago, so we're really at a point now where it's self-directed. So our students would be willing and able, and they're eager to get out into the community. So name the date.
Name the date?
Yes.
I don't know.
How about we try to do something before April vacation?
When is April vacation?
You should have known.
The 19th, around there, where
Oh yeah,
Patriots Day is?
say the first
Okay.
week in April.
All right, let me check in with Mr. Mejia. How's
Yeah.
that?
Let's do that. And
Okay.
what I like to do is I like to meet up with the class or
Yep.
whatever
Yep.
and the
talk.
teacher
Yep.
and just sort of express my involvement and then ask them what they would like to do. Because we have the facilities at
I love
DCAT
that. Yep.
and we have the facilities here.
Yep.
And
They would
Yeah.
love to do programming.
well, then let's
So
do it.
let's do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Heidi,
Thanks for
and,
sitting with me.
Good luck at the Saturday session.
Can't wait.
Tomorrow is
Tomorrow's a day.
And I
tomorrow's
was
Yes.
referring to
Thank
the
you.
budget session.
Yes.
So that was the second clip, and I think they're in the wrong order. But can we run the first clip? The third clip, I guess. Jack.
what I like to do is just read your mission.
No,
Yes.
that's not it.
Sure.
North Shore Agricultural and Technical School is to create a culture
Is that it?
That's it.
of
That's fine.
academic and technical
All-
excellence.
That's fine. Thank you, Jack. The introduction to this whole interview was that Essex Tech serves 17 communities and 38 surrounding communities because they have 1,694 students at this time. Essex Tech provides services in the agricultural field, technical school field, and the vocational school field. They have day classes and then they have night classes for the workers that come in for training. Member communities are eligible for all programs. That means the member communities are 17. So those are the school districts or the communities that surround Danvers. Surrounding communities, towns and cities are eligible to enroll in 7 agricultural programs. So there's a combination there. After dark programs, 58 students attend that, and that's really, after dark, what I was told. I was informed that these are the students that share their seat with Essex Tech in the afternoon, and in the morning they go to their home school system
Okay.
and they get their reading, writing, and arithmetic taught in those classes, and then they, in the afternoon, they go to Essex Tech to learn the technical or vocational or agricultural programs. So it's a combination. It's great. Why aren't we doing it?
Right. Danvers doesn't do that though, right?
No, they don't. And one of the other questions that was not brought up in this portion of the interview, and I'm sorry that I didn't get the first piece, special education is a component in Essex Tech. Everybody's been claiming that the Essex Tech gets away from special education. That's not true. They have a selection process and they have to comply with the law of the state of Massachusetts. So the school systems in our area are basically hand-tied by the rules and regulations that are being sent to us by DESE, which is the Department of Secondary Education, which is the education department. However, then why do we have the school committee? School committee doesn't know what to do with this. One of the issues that was brought up at one of the meetings recently is that school committee doesn't have anything to do with curriculum selection. Well, yes, you do, because you hire the superintendent and that assistant superintendent who was in charge of curriculum. So, Bill, what do you think?
What do I think? I like to go back to the old Aggie.
Well, that was a ball of twine there as well.
Yes.
But I just, you know, I was on the Board of Selectmen at that time, and I was on the board of Essex County Representatives. and that was held at the Aggie. And they were in control of the Aggie. That was another ball of worms.
Yeah, but that was only firemen and stuff like that.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They had no
Yes.
automotive and stuff like that. They
That's
brought
right.
us in afterwards. You
That's
know?
right. And you know what? They do a great job because they attract so many kids.
No question about it.
And the thing is that we're trying to put a cog in the wheel and stop the train. These kids deserve.
Well, here's my question: how much money did we save by getting rid of the Voc and stuff? Did we save any money in the budget?
No.
Then what? That's what I don't understand. I mean, it's confusing.
The school department insists on presenting a budget that includes all of the administration and the support staff and the psychologists and everything else for 37 or 3,800 students, because that's what we started off with at the school system. Now the school system has dropped over 400 students because the population of students is decreasing. But where are they going? They're going to Essex Tech. 245 students go there, and they are getting an excellent education. It's 60 students per grade. That's what it equals out to. We need to give them that opportunity to learn the right stuff instead of the mumble jumble that we get in our own school system. And you are going to comment on my mumble jumble. Bill.
I'd like to think that the town is doing a good, adequate job on educating the kids. One of the problems, not kids, young adults. I'd like to question why the school system can't afford to offer some of what's being offered at the technical school, Aggie. Why aren't we offering? Is it the cost? Or is it, I mean...
That was, Bill, and I'll tell you from my own experience, that was a decision made in 2000 when the school was being planned. The Essex Tech is a merged school of vocational school that was in Middleton and the Aggie, which was in Danvers. And at that time, everybody wanted to get the education level up for the vocational and technical and agricultural piece. So at that time, Danvers school system decided to eliminate those kinds of courses. So we are sending those kids to where they belong. And the thing is that we don't want to admit to the fact that these kids deserve that education. And we need to pay for it.
We always have to pay for it.
That's right.
But
No matter what.
we lose out on a lot of different ways. I remember when I was going to school. I mean, there was, if you had a carpentry, they would build houses, build sheds for people. So the community had an extra benefit. I mean, even the town could use these people to do all kinds of certain things.
And if you look at the budget book that was presented, and I have that here, there are pages worth of community service that those students perform. And they do small jobs, they practice on your property because they'll put a deck up or something, and they'll be there with a teacher and perform that work. They'll build furniture for some organization.
Yes.
And that used to be done by the jail, but they don't do that anymore because they have the Voc right there.
Yes.
So there are benefits. The thing is, we need to admit to the fact that these kids deserve that kind of education. And we need to adjust our own school system budget, because I have, I guess, angered the school administration and the town management, because I have always been saying that the education that's being done at Essex Tech is costing us equal to what we charge for our students. And we had a big disagreement, but the only thing is that they forget is that the budget that's being looked at, $48 million, is only the salaries, wages, and the administration of the school system. The other piece, which is the capital costs, the maintenance, the field work, everything else adds up to another $25 million, and they forget about that.
Hey,
So,
but shouldn't there have been a savings though when they dropped all these classes with the sharp
yes,
teachers?
they
all
should
that
have
stuff?
been, but it hasn't happened.
Hasn't happened?
No.
There should have been, right?
Yes.
Oh,
But that's, go ahead.
when I was in school, it was home ec for the young ladies to learn how to cook,
Right. economics.
and shop for us to make
A stool or something.
stool
yeah.
or a cutting board, as I recall, was one of the things.
Even to learn
I
how to
made.
sew today. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, you know.
But that should be something that should be offered to everyone,
Right.
regardless of sex. Everyone should have the opportunity, because some people, they're either going to have to fix something or they're going to have to make something. And not just open a can of beans because that's my supper, because that's all I know how to do, or which end of the hammer do I grab
Right.
to drive a nail. It's all, has to be all rounded, very rounded.
I had an experience with one of my neighbors, and he has a little boy, I think he's 10 or 11. And I went to help him fix a door or handle or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I brought that little boy, and I won't name him, but brought him right into the room where we were fixing the door, and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this out, we're going to put this in, and this is how you tighten things up. This is a little bit of mechanical work,
Yes.
and that's where fathers and mothers should be doing. So, but in conclusion, and this interview will be aired by DCAT as a Topics of the Town News special report. And this was held on March 17, 2023, and this was with Heidi Riccio, and hopefully at that time we'll have the entire interview, because that was very enlightening. And I've done this 3 years ago, and then we'll do it again. Essex Agricultural, Vocational, and Technical High School. So, I just wanted to make this presentation because I think that's an important factor that we forget.
Oh, no question.
And the management of this town wants to tamp it down because it's costing us money. Absolutely. Let's reduce the school administration budget and to compensate for the kids that we have at Essex Tech.
Obviously, money's a big factor in anything, but it's, to me, it's the end result. You have young adults, when they get out of school, whichever school it is, they know how to do a checkbook,
Yep.
they know how to start a car, they need to do the obvious things that all adults or young adults should know. But you look around you and you watch somebody, they don't even know how to, figuratively speaking, put a key in a door and unlock it or lock a door.
Right.
It's really a disappointment that society is that far back. Both parents, a parent, need to do a lot of work
Well,
educating their own offsprings.
That's true, but we also need to let them expand their horizons
Yes.
in the school system.
Yes.
So, I just wanted to get that across.
Let me ask you a question. Right now in the school system, do they do a little sewing and little baking and stuff like that still?
I don't think so.
I'm just curious.
Home economics,
Right,
remember
used to
that?
be, right,
home
exactly,
ec,
yeah.
home ec, and
Home
shop,
ec
and
the
shop.
financial, and you know, we need to make sure that that happens more often than not.
I think one of the things in the past was one of the local savings institutions used to send someone from the bank and do a class at the, I think it was a high school, so talk to the the young adults about how to balance a checkbook, how to save money, compounding. Where else is it taught? The banks are the best teachers,
That's
because
right.
they're the ones who have the money.
The banks are the ones that are losing money now, so they won't go.
Well, okay.
But that's another issue.
That's another story, yes.
So I just wanted, just to complement what has been happening with Essex Tech, you heard that I'm reaching out to the media department that they have. They have a media
And they have a
school.
media department, so that's pretty good.
And we had one here too.
Oh,
Bill Clark was in
Yes,
charge of it.
right,
Really?
yes.
And that's all gone away.
really?
So, let's continue because we're halfway through.
We
and
need a well-rounded
Shouldn't there be a savings if you
education.
drop these things?
say what?
Shouldn't there be a savings if things are dropped?
Well, I've questioned that over and over again. And I've been told no. But the thing is, the parents and the community needs to go to the school committee meetings and ask that question. So,
Take an interest.
segment number 2, and just for information, that turkey right there, it represents the current school committee.
Oh,
So I have the pleasure to introduce the school committee, and the school committee is running unopposed at this month's election, May's election. So let's just look at the turkey and see which turkey that represents. So I'll just leave that there. This turkey, which is here in front of me, represents the selectmen. Oh, the select board.
Board,
I'm
select
sorry.
board.
Changed it.
Oh, I have to change it.
Is
So
that- is
that's
it-
something that we're going to be talking
is that
about
what, is
later.
that wokeness? Is that what they're talking about? When they
Woke?
woke?
Yes. I just want to read this brief statement, if I may, guys.
Go ahead.
Our community has always been responsive to the needs of our residents, but during the time of our current controlling rules and guidance, our leaders overreacted. This is referring back to 3 years ago. And this is continuing now because they seem to like it, but the residents don't know what to do with them. Throw them out. We are being trained to become isolated and fearful of large group gatherings and public meetings. We must ask why. So this is leading up into my discussion. Actions of our town leaders have impacted the morale of the taxpayers and now the entire community. Taxpayers don't know whether they're getting good service for the dollars that we pay
Get the money's worth.
and get their money's worth. Recent actions by our leaders, school board and school committee, are being stressed. They appear to be eating their own members because they are resistant to the status quo. They cannot agree to disagree. And this is reference to our recent school select board meeting. Not everyone will agree with the establishment. Some members of the club have overextended their stay, and they will not give way to the new establishment. Our Board of Selectmen has been elected for a reason, because they volunteered to run and represent our members, our entire community.
Yes.
Board of Selectmen actions restricting questions by members and then punishing individual selectmen is abhorrent. Freedom of speech is part of government.
Yes.
And freedom of speech is very essential. Need to discuss the restrictive questioning of board candidates by our elite Board of Selectmen chairman. Why restrict questioning? That board is a public board. It's been elected by our residents
Yes.
to represent what the community feels, but not in many cases it's more of what these individuals want to present to the community. The sleeping giant has been poked enough to produce a response to the restrictive rules being initiated in our town. Open meeting is an issue in this town. We need to have access to our elected officials and our appointed officials. The actions by our elected and appointed leaders cannot go unanswered. The taxpayers and all residents need to resist. The taxpayers must stop feeding the dragon. If the king is unwilling, residents must stop the dysfunction. So, I've used the town seal many times, but it is so appropriate. And the thing is that we have to realize that we're living in a restricted society right now because they don't let us into the club.
It feels that way.
So, just as an example of what's going on, and I've noticed this attending some of the select board meetings, the town management are wearing the town seal on their lapel. If you notice on their suit coats, they have the town seal, which is, if the king is unwilling, throw the bum out. And this is an imitation of our state. The state legislators wear their state seal on their lapel. I don't know what the heck that really means. The feds are doing the same thing.
Oh, no question about it.
They're wearing the U.S. seal. They think they're president or something. So, they want to be in the club, such as state legislature and federal House and Senate. So, I hope that they're not imitating the state and federal, because they're in disarray.
Well, it feels that
And
way.
what we're showing here in town is disarray in itself. The next item that I'm looking at is, I've looked at the budget, and you've gone to the budget hearings.
Yes.
Tony, you've been
Yes,
there
I
as
was
well.
there for a little while.
The select board chairman is petitioning for a CPA override while the Beverly Airport real estate taxes are forgiven for years. $1 million is left on the table every year. The $1 million is not the significant number, because that's a negotiated number at the end, but there's $40 million worth of industrial and commercial property, 170 acres, that are in Danvers. And in Danvers, they have the fuel depot, the operations center, and those hangars are being built over on that side.
Most
And-
all the money that they make over there comes from the other side, believe it or not. And we have all the trucks coming down the Danvers streets. I mean, you figure, how do they get the fuel in there? Have to come down Burley Street,
Absolutely, and they do.
and they rip up Burley Street.
So that's why we're showing our no new taxes, vote no on question 1, which is going to be on the ballot, because there's a coalition of individuals that have gathered enough signatures to have this placed on this ballot, on this this ballot. However, the reason it's being placed on this ballot is significant to understand, because this is going to be a non-election election, because there's no opposition to the Board of Selectmen. Maureen is running.
Right.
The 2 members of the school committee, Josh Kipnis and Eric Crane, are running unopposed. So why not have more of the same? Town meeting members, I have talked to Catherine this afternoon, and Precinct 1 has 6 members for 6 seats, that have volunteered. They
Okay.
placed their name on the ballot. Precinct 2 has 4 seats, and they're short 2 seats because nobody wants to even run for town meeting. Precinct 3 has 7 members for 6 seats, which is
That's good.
commendable.
Choice is
Precinct
good.
4 has 6 candidates for 6 seats.
Okay.
Precinct 4 has also a 1-year term that doesn't have anybody volunteering for that. Now, you can get your name on there as a
Right in.
as a write-in,
Write-in.
Yes.
and all you need is 10 votes. but we need to make sure that you get your name and address on there and make sure that it's for that position.
How about precinct 5?
people-
Precinct 5 has 7 candidates for 6 seats,
Okay.
which is fine. 6 has 6 members, 6 candidates, and they're mostly incumbents. Precinct 7, where I come from, has 8 candidates because there's some new blood coming in, and I'll just be clear on I'm running, so please vote for me. Precinct 8 has 4 candidates for 6 seats, and they're short 2. So I just wanted to express this in a very quick way. A CPA question is on the ballot, and that's why we have the vote no for new taxes, because that's exactly what it is. And I have a letter here that has been written, vote no on CPA, and I'm not going to read it, but it's the same information that was defeated by 9,000 votes in the 2016 election where it was placed. And that was totally different than this process, because this process they're trying to ram it through, and hell or high water, they want it.
Well,
It's a
hopefully,
1% surcharge
right.
on your taxes.
If it's a low turnout, they might get it. I mean, that's the
Well,
problem.
that's the thing. What we need to advertise that, and
Push for everybody to get out and vote.
and Bill, how are you going to vote? Oh, you're not committal. I know.
I've lived in Danvers all my life.
Yeah.
I've seen Danvers change. I've seen some of the things the town has lost that I wish now, going back, if you could go back in time, could have or should have been saved. Danvers today is not the Danvers I grew up in.
Danvers is not the same even 50 years ago when I came here.
It's
But
I miss the old days. They're gone. Whether I'm going to like the new days, not so sure. I'm not going to be around long enough to deal with it. The younger people are.
Right.
It's the
But
line.
nothing is preserved.
Nothing's preserved,
right.
and everybody's going to say, "Well, the good old days were either good or bad." Well, today's good old days are someone else's good old days. What's going to happen? I mean, it's the throwaway society.
No,
We
it's-
want change.
It's called progress.
That's
What they call it.
That's a nice way to put it.
But you
Whose
can't.
progress?
That's right. You can't overcharge the residents. They are already being charged too much for the real estate taxes, because very few people realize that the budget, I don't know what it is now, I think it's 160 million,
yeah, it's not that much, is it?
and half of it comes from real estate taxes, and the other half comes from state taxes and meals taxes and RMV taxes. So it's all tax money. The thing is, how far are we going to reach in your pocket to put out on taxes?
Very deep.
That's right. Okay.
When you look at the excise tax, that was a tax that was instituted, I think, to help pay for the Second World War, just like the telephone tax for the First World War. And it took, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago before an issue was made and it was finally done away with.
Turnpike fees were also
that's
the
what I was
same.
gonna say.
Right?
too.
once,
Tobin Bridge.
once it was paid, when the
Bridges and all.
then the turnpike was paid for, the costs would end.
Okay.
I have to blame the legislature for that because they like to have extra money.
Well, that's
to
what we
spend.
need, is the legislature to step in. Budget is inflated to a tune of at least 10%. I've reviewed it, and as you know, I'm a numbers guy, and 10% is flat. Last year they retained from the budget, which was overestimated, $8.3 million. That was their leftover money from the budget. Now, that money should be returned to the ratepayers.
Just like the state does, or
Yes.
is supposed to do.
That's right. They're supposed to.
They call it a rainy day
That's
fund,
what-
isn't that it?
Well, that's a different.
Rainy
That's a
day
different.
fund is a special
That's-
fund.
that's
This
something
is
different.
all rainy day funds. Okay, so now could we show the no new tax slide, please?
You had it up.
Well, we have it behind us anyway. So that's one of the pieces that I like to bring up and for discussion is the Danvers Town Manager Act and the town charter must be subject to a serious update and revisions. Moderator can set up a review committee at town meeting. So this is another infraction of our taxes, but we also have petitions that are being sent into the town meeting as Town of Danvers Citizens Petition, and this is the recall petition that they couldn't get through last time because I think they're afraid of the voters.
But is that going on a ballot, or is that how
That's,
was
no, that's just a citizens petition, which
For
is
town
at
hall-
a
for town
warrant
meeting?
for town meeting.
okay? That's what I was trying to.
So this is not going to be
on the ballot.
ballot.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
So,
You
we're
need-
running out of time.
If you
but
do that, that requires a certain number of signatures to.
no, this
that
one has 10 signatures. That's all
That's
you
all.
need.
But
But that has been considered in the past.
now, if it passes town hall, does it go to the voters afterwards or no? If it passes town meeting, does it go to the voters?
It asks for legislative action. And this is why I'm bringing up the Town Manager Act and the Town Charter, because that's where it should be. In other communities, it's included in the Town Manager Act and the Charter for those communities.
Shouldn't there be an automatic review, whatever the period is to review?
Are you kidding?
It's simple.
Well-
Sounds like it to me.
Well, maybe that's what should be
the-
included.
whether there's something wrong or not wrong, just review it periodically, go through it. That's okay. We need to change that. Don't wait until it's too late, so to speak.
Well, that's being proactive instead of
Reactive, yes.
So now you've spelled it out for them. They're not going to do a damn thing unless the people, the residents, ask for it.
Yes.
And that's where I believe that there's going to be a citizens petition for the return of the real estate taxes that are being forgiven for the Beverly Airport. That can be a significant amount. And I've talked to the town manager, and he believes that can be done by a pilot program, which we already collect $150,000 for the reservoir that's up in the north end of the town.
Right.
And then we have, payment that the municipal light board makes to the town. It's over $1 million now. So that's a pilot program.
But that's coming out of our pocket anyways.
No, it's coming out of your Bill's
Yeah,
pocket.
so
Right.
it's still coming
So
out.
it's, well, so
It's
it
a
is
different-
everything
it's
else.
just a different way to
it's
tax.
just a different.
Yeah, it's a different taxes, right. So I like to show my Albert Einstein quote, and I have been told all the time, go and look at the website. That's where you're going to find all your information. Well, I'm not that type of an individual. I want to see it. I want to talk to you. I want to understand why you're doing it. So I have copies of the town budget, the school committee budget, the Danvers School Committee budget, the audit reports, which have been presented to the Board of Selectmen, but nobody knows where they are. Well, they're supposed to be on a website. Well, I have also the Comprehensive Financial Report, which gives you so much information that they don't want you to know.
Well, that's it.
So
You have to know how to look for it, where to find it.
Well,
I
that's
go
the problem.
to the finance director and get those reports in writing, and I have copies, and I've been doing that for years. So I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction.
It's coming
The
close.
world will have a generation of idiots.
They're becoming very close.
And we are almost there. So, next segment, which is the last segment, government, Beverly Airport, government and reaction of residents, taxpayers from Danvers, Wenham, and Beverly. We have two clips from the airport commission meeting, and what I'll do is I will not go into those clips because those will be presented as a special
Okay.
on the DCAT channel.
Okay.
And that's coming, and Jack will make sure that we get that out. We have issues raised by residents in regard to noise, leaded gas,
Yes.
PFAS, which is the contamination of
Of
the
the
soil, groundwater. We have expansion of the airport.
Yes.
And one of the questions that you'll see on the report is that they are questioning now the master plan, because the master plan presents, excuse me, it presents the extension of runways into Danvers, but also in Beverly, because they can't go any further in Beverly. So
We're held hostage by the FAA.
That's what they keep telling us, but I don't think that's true.
we buy our airport facility, and the airport facility is not owned by Beverly. It is a federal land that has been given, or they maintain
The city
the
of
airport. They operate the airport.
What's
But the airport is being run by a commission, which is 7 members, I believe,
Yes, it is.
and there's 5 from Beverly and 2 from Danvers, and we've had 1 vacant for over 6 months.
Why put-
And the town employee that operates as a airport commissioner threw up his hands. He says, I can't do anything over there. So
You're
what we need
outvoted.
to do, again, go back after the taxes, because money talks and you know what walks.
Well, no question in my mind.
And there's the airport runway layout, and the longest one that's going into Danvers is, I don't know which one.
927 is coming into Danvers, and
Yep.
the other one's 934.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you notice it, see, look all the congestion. All the congestion's on the Danvers side.
Oh,
okay?
absolutely.
Look at the other side, but they don't fly on the other side. They keep flying in
Well, that's
Danvers.
by design.
What happens there, if it's similar to what's happening to the other airports around the country where
Yes.
near misses?
Oh yeah,
Well, we've had airplanes and trees in the backyards of Danvers.
yes. Most of the accidents been in Danvers.
And
3 or 4 of them
there
have
was
been
a
in.
gentleman that got killed on the
Yes.
runway
Yes.
recently.
Yes.
So we need to demand our real estate taxes, and that's the only thing that's going to change
Yes.
the attitude of the Beverly side.
And also,
Cahill doesn't care.
and we got to get tax money too for all those buildings that are there. And for
Absolutely.
everything. I mean, you know,
That was.
There's also a gasoline that's being shipped
10
out
cents.
of
Right now, they're getting 10 cents a gallon. The airport gets it. 10 cents a gallon.
Right.
Any gallon that's sold on the airport,
What do we get?
0.
That's right. So there's issues that have to be addressed, and the airport manager has been hired.
Yes, but
However,
he's not coming until June though.
he can't. That's July now.
July?
Yeah, and then because he's got a baby coming
And he's
in
got
the
maternity
next
leave.
2 months,
Yeah, maternity leave.
which is appropriate. But the airport commissioner, Paul Treffry.
He's going to
And
be leaving though. He's as soon as the
Well, I know, but he needs to step up
Yes.
and make sure that things happen. Clips are related to many of the government health issues: noise, leaded fuel, PFAS contamination, growth, and other environmental issues. The financial issues are that the fuel is being delivered and dispensed from the Danvers side, the west side of the airport. Danvers doesn't get anything.
Nothing.
So we've had a uproar a couple of years ago in regard to the pilot program. Why didn't the town management go after that piece?
They did, but there was a big. I don't want to get into
It's
it. but-
political.
Yes,
So
there was a lot of people that weren't, didn't
the
really
master
push it.
plan is being
Careful,
questioned
careful.
finally. The
Yes,
master
yes,
plan is
right,
finally
yes.
being questioned. And I think, I don't know, I don't want to waste the time. Environment is being destroyed. There are plans to build another hangar on the west side. And the hangar is basically overhanging over wetlands. So we need to keep an eye on that.
Yes.
And
A
Jack,
big
if
eye.
you can throw out
A
my
big eye.
my Tasmanian devil, this is something that I enjoy every time.
You better enjoy it before they
I put it
before
out.
they get rid of him.
I miss
He might be extinct.
the good old days. Remember when you could actually have an opinion without offending somebody. So there is a move afoot at the Beverly Airport Commission. Update is being done. However, the commissioners update good neighbor policy. They have not updated that, and they have not issued it to the public because the public is asleep.
The big problem is they have a lot of stuff on paper, and if they did what they say they were going to do, it'd be better for us. But they don't do it.
But they have not implemented or given the policy to the public.
No.
That's my issue.
Important. That's important.
It's right. And if we can throw up the Beverly Airport logo, this has become an issue with the Beverly Airport. The neighbors are being affected on a daily basis.
Yes.
And last time, and you'll see that on the meeting minutes, or meeting film, I was sitting outside on my stoop one afternoon. 2 business jets, one after the other, came down so I could read the numbers.
That's the problem.
And they rattle all over the place. So that has to stop.
They're starting to shake the houses. The jets they're bringing in there are starting to shake the houses. It's terrible. I mean,
It was always meant to be a regional airport, not a satellite
Municipal air.
or a municipal.
it was. That's why they're changing the thing to regional
Well,
because they want.
the thing is, they're
for the
not
exposure.
charging enough for the landing fees and for the fuel. We have been advised that the fuel costs at Beverly Airport are lower than anybody else in the neighborhood.
Why?
Why? Because they want to attract more traffic. What do you think?
At our
It's a
expense.
business plan.
At our expense.
Here
Yes.
is a picture that really demonstrates what they're trying to do at the airport. This is a business jet that is twin engine, and it probably carries 20 to 25 people.
Yes.
And those are the ones that are flying over our neighborhoods.
Yes. It's starting to get
And,
really. I mean, if
and I'm not close to your neighborhood.
God, you can
I'm
hear 'em
on the
take
other
off.
end.
Yes.
And they're beginning to
it's
have.
starting to shake the houses, I'm telling you.
The
It's
touch
terrible.
and goes, they
Oh,
come
touch and
around.
goes. That's a nightmare.
But it's certain areas in town, you can't enjoy your own property, your backyard,
If they took
because
rights,
because
look
of
back
the
into Beverly, we'd be all set. But they don't do that. We have to get them to give us some relief and start
So,
flying the other way into Beverly.
It
My
has to be vertical takeoff, period.
my plea to the residents and to airport commission should be disbanded and an airport authority established to better represent the 3 communities. And this
Equally.
equally,
Equally.
right? Well, they'll have their own representatives. Real estate taxes must be collected by the Danvers, Beverly, and Wenham.
Yes.
I don't know whether Beverly is.
Wenham pays.
Wenham pays it for one piece of property, and it's something like $15,000.
It's $20,000.
Is it 20?
Says the 25. They cry and they get it for 20.
Budget process started, and what I want to do is close out And I'm not going to give you two an opportunity to make closing comments because we're out of time.
Oh my God!
But I'd like to present. I have the honor to go to the landfill today
Okay.
to look at the progress of what's going on with the solar panels.
Filling
So
of the
I'll
area.
be presenting that in the near future. So, gentlemen, thank you very much.
I want to thank this man for going to all the meetings. This man is Mr.
Yes.
Danvers, if you ask me. I mean, you know.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank
He's a
you.
gentleman.
Bill Bradstreet, Tony Betancourt,
Thank you.
Mark
Thank
Zuber.
you.